abode. He even brings his river Jamuna. So Krishna's abode is there. And of course, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's none different from Krishna. So if we get the chance to go and spend time in Navadvip, Krishna, Lord Chaitanya's abode, we will find that all the holy places are there in Sri Navadvip Dham. Actually, they're existing. The entire spiritual world is there in Navadvip Dham. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
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 Gopi Jana Vallabha Srivaradhari
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha
Gopi Jana Vallabha Srivaradhari
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha
Yashodanandana Brajatana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajatana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Brajatana Ranjana
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari
Yashodanandana Brajatana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Brajatana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Brajatana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Brajatana Ranjana
Yamuna Vanachari
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari
Yashodanandana Brajatana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Brajatana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Brajatana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Brajatana Tribhangananda, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Kunda Vihari, 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 Jaya Radha Madhava, Kunda Vihari.
Hare Krishna. That's better. So, okay, did we manage to find the Chaitanya Charitamrita?
Yeah.
No? Okay.
Yeah, just come on screen.
Okay, so, very good. So let's sing an invocation because it's always good to invoke auspiciousness. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda,
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda,
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda,
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda,
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda,
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Hare Krishna. Can I ask a little favor from our Pujari? Prabhupada, he expressed that the feet of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda should always be visible. So if I may humbly request that the flowers be moved to one side or just below, that their feet should be visible, always. Radharani, her feet are never visible. Krishna's feet should always be visible, and Lord Chaitanya's and Lord Nityananda's feet should always be visible. Because actually, this is how we approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead, beginning from the lotus feet of the Lord, actually. And so, as we learn, as we study Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita, that everything begins from the basics. It begins from the feet and gradually working up to the ankles and the calves and the knees and the thighs and the waist, like that, the chest, the arms, and the beautiful smiling face of the Lord. And then again, gradually coming down again to the lotus feet. This is how the meditation should be done. We learn this from the prayers of Queen Kunti, actually, when she addresses Krishna in this way. So, these verses here from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, these first few verses, who can I just ask, who here has read Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita? Okay. Who here would like to read Chaitanya Charitamrita? Okay, quite a few more. Good. This is such an important book because from this, Srila Prabhupada explains that Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita is the most authorized biography of the personality, Lord Chaitanya. So if we want to really understand him, we should carefully read and study these verses and the purports. Because without the purports, we will find it very difficult to understand what is going on. We will invent so many ideas in our fertile brains. But actually, by hearing from Srila Prabhupada, we will have very clear understanding about what is actually the science of Krishna. Because it is a science. As Prabhupada pointed out many times, this Krishna consciousness is not a sentiment, it's a science. And so these first few verses, there is no purport. And the reason for it is that each of these first, I think 14 verses, you'll find if not half a chapter or whole chapter devoted to discussing just each one of these verses. So these are discussed just after these. But if we recite these verses, we can begin to get an idea about Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So by approaching Lord Chaitanya, we first of all have to approach his representative. Just like if we want to understand spiritual life, then we require a spiritual master. As Krishna has pointed out in Bhagavad Gita, Tadvidi Pranipatena Pariprashnena Sevaya. So the first verse is actually offering respect to not just the spiritual master, but the spiritual masters, plural. Because there are different spiritual masters. There is the initiating spiritual master. When one takes initiation, the formal connection with Krishna is actually made at that initiation. That initiation means to begin our spiritual life in earnest. Not that we take initiation and that's it, now I'm Casey, I've made my spiritual progress. But that means I'm beginning my spiritual life in earnest. And as well as the Diksha Guru, equally important, and in fact in some ways they can be even more important. The Siksha Gurus give guidance, because we can see that to have regular access to the Diksha Guru is often very difficult. But actually through the Siksha Gurus, through the guidance of other senior or advanced devotees, we can progress on the path of Krishna consciousness, and we can learn and make progress, because actually spiritual life is the progressive program. Actually, spiritual life is meant to be progressive. What is the progress? The progress is from beginning, just like we sing in this prayer, Om Agyana Timarandasya Jananjana Salakaya Chakshuram Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. That I was born in the darkest ignorance, but my spiritual master has opened my eyes by thrusting before them the torchlight of transcendental knowledge, and so I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. So the progress is from the oblivion and darkness of ignorance to the full light of pure transcendental knowledge of not simply theoretical understanding of Krishna and our eternal relationship with Krishna, but full-blown realization of our eternal relationship with Krishna. And spiritual life means activity. It means acting in that relationship with Krishna. Actually realizing, and it begins not as an inert or armchair program, armchair meditation, but actually it begins by spiritual activity, beginning with Shravanam. Actually, we have to hear about Krishna. And I understand that our devotees here are very keen on just Shravanam, on this hearing, because this, as Prabhupada points out in the beginning of the Bhagavatam, that Shravanam and Kirtanam, Shravanam means hearing, and Kirtanam means explaining. So he points out that only by hearing and explaining can one perfectly assimilate the science of Krishna. So kirtan doesn't mean simply chanting, singing. Actually, kirtan, Prabhupada's books, they're the sweetest kirtan, because Prabhupada is explaining the whole science of Krishna for us to understand how this is actually about our real lives and reviving our real lives. So if we take advantage of Srila Prabhupada's books, then we can, and his teachings in this way, we can actually make nice progress. And especially after hearing about them, they're not meant to go in one ear and come out the other. They're actually meant to go in through the ears and enter the heart, and then come out through the mouth by explaining them to others and discussing amongst ourselves and amongst others. So this is Lord Chaitanya's program. His whole program is flooding the world with Krishna consciousness. Actually, as the Bhagavatam puts it, creating a revolution in the impious lives of this world's misdirected civilization. How about that? So we need revolutionaries. Prabhupada himself was a first-class revolutionary. He wanted to bring about a revolution in this whole materialistic world. And that revolution means you turn things around. So instead of people being attached and focused on enjoying and suffering this temporary spot life till the bitter end, actually turning it around so that we understand our eternal relationship with Krishna and how to love Krishna, how to actually become happy in this world, what to speak of the next. So let us see how Krishnadas Kaviraj, he very kindly presented Chaitanya Charitamrita. Does anyone know how old he was when he wrote Chaitanya Charitamrita?
Was he in his 90s, right?
Yeah, he was 90 years old. But he had that wonderful inspiration by hearing from Raghunath Das Goswami and the other Goswamis, and by studying the Kadachas, the diaries of Murari Gupta, who was there throughout so much of Lord Chaitanya's life. And in this way, he learned about Lord Chaitanya, and he was always in ecstatic love with Lord Chaitanya, and the devotees requested him, please write this Chaitanya Charitamrita so people can understand. So he took the permission, and as we'll see as we read Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he took the order from Lord Nityananda personally to go to Vrindavan, associate with the Goswamis, and he took the blessings of Madan Mohan deity to begin and complete this Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. So with that brief introduction, let us read some of these first few verses, and we can then understand that Lord Chaitanya is not alone, but he's coming with all his associates. So text 1 is, I offer my respectful obeisances unto the spiritual masters, the devotees of the Lord's incarnations, his plenary portions, his energies, and the primeval Lord himself, Sri Krishna Chaitanya. So Krishna, he is never alone. He is always with his devotees, his energies, just like here we are in this room. You could say this is the material energy, although it's being spiritualized by being engaged in the service of the Lord. But Krishna has got so many different energies. What are the three primary energies of Krishna? Can anyone say?
Are you talking about the Antaranga Shakti, the Baharanga Shakti, and the...
Yes. Could you explain?
So there's Ishvara, or Krishna, and then he has an energy. He's the Purusha, and then there's Prakriti, which is his external energy. He has an internal energy, which is known as his Haladani Shakti, or Antaranga Shakti. And then we as the Jiva, or the souls, are known as Tatastha Shakti, or the marginal energy.
Yes, thank you. So why marginal energy? Anybody here ever been to the beach? So when you go to the beach, that's the margin between the land and the sea. So that margin can be sometimes uncovered and sometimes it can be covered. So similarly, we're called marginal because we can be situated in our real spiritual condition, which is uncovered, or we can be like we have been and maybe still to some extent existing covered by the material energy. And sometimes we get a glimpse when we fall out of Maya by the Lord's mercy to appreciate Krishna and appreciate who we are and who Krishna is, that we're his eternal servants, and engage in that way. So spiritual life doesn't mean theoretical understanding, it means activity. So what is that spiritual activity? If I'm an eternal servant of Krishna, then what I have to do is serve Krishna. That's the activity. So, but the spiritual masters, both the Diksha Gurus, those who give initiation, like the Acharyas, great Acharyas who Prabhupada explains, they don't go back to Godhead. They travel perpetually in this world, in the material worlds, bringing people back to Krishna. That is their service. Hare Krishna. So that is their kindness. And that is their duty and their loving service to Krishna. And we see also the incarnations. The incarnations of the Lord, they also, as we read in Chaitanya Charitamrita, they also, although they're expansions of Krishna, they also want to serve Krishna. And their service, just like the Purusha avatars, the Mahavishnu who manifests the material universes from his own body, why does he do that? Because he does it as his service to Krishna. And as we see the different incarnations and expansions of the Lord, they actually derive more transcendental bliss, although they are themselves the Godhead, but they derive more satisfaction and bliss out of the servitor relationship of being the servants of the Godhead. So actually they render all their different pastimes as their service to Krishna to help bring people back to Krishna. And this is Lord Chaitanya's primary focus. So if we want to understand Lord Chaitanya, we have to understand not just who he is, but what he is and what is his mood and what is his mission. What does he want to do? Is he wants to bring everyone back to Krishna. And to do that, he adopts the role of being a devotee to show us how to be devotees of Krishna. He takes that pastime himself, and actually this is his most blissful pastime. He is Namo Mahavadanyaya. We offer our obeisances, Namo Mahavadanyaya, because actually he is the most munificent incarnation, because he's giving freely, which Krishna and any other incarnation has never given before. Lord Chaitanya is giving freely pure love of Krishna. Just take it. Take it. What is the difficulty? Actually, he's coming and he's showing by this Ananda, Kevala Ananda Kanda. He's simply demonstrating that spiritual life is joyful. It's so blissful. And it's simply chanting and dancing. And also understanding about Krishna. Because Krishna consciousness is not simply sentiment. It's also the science. We should understand what we're doing. Because if it's sentimental, then sentiments change. But if we understand the solid basis of the science of Krishna, we can be fixed up in devotional service. This is the point. We have to become fixed in our devotional service, not, well, today I'm serving Krishna and today I want to go out and eat an ice cream. Actually, how can I always use everything and see everything in relation to Krishna? So we have to hear, just like when you go to school or college, then so much of the time is spent hearing. Because by hearing, you see everything in perspective. If you see a maths book and you open it up, what's all this? But if we hear and understand, we can make sense of it, actually. And then we can apply it and actually utilize that scientific knowledge. So spiritual mathematics is rather different from material mathematics. Because as we see in spiritual mathematics, 1 and 1 makes 1. Because, and also 1 minus 1 is also 2. Hare Krishna. How is that? Because Krishna himself, this is explained in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, that Krishna himself, he has his own internal pleasure potency, and he expands himself as that internal pleasure potency as Srimati Radharani. So 1 minus 1 makes 2. And in order to enjoy pastimes, and particularly the meaning of Radha and Krishna means the exchange of love. This is what spiritual life is about. It's the exchange of love. The devotees render loving service to Krishna. And Krishna promises in Bhagavad Gita, Ye yatamam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham. Each as they surrender to me, I reward them accordingly. Krishna is actually existing with unlimited expansions. What sort of expansions? 2 types of expansions. The Svamsa, his own expanded forms, his incarnations, his associates like that, and also the Vibhinamsa. We're also tiny expansions of Krishna. And what is the business of the expansions of Krishna is always to render loving service to Krishna. And it's an exchange of love, because Krishna is always reciprocating. So that exchange of love is there between Radha and Krishna. So to understand Lord Chaitanya means we have to understand Radha and Krishna. And to understand Radha and Krishna, this can only be done by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. So 1 minus 1 equals 2, and 1 plus 1 equals 1, because when Lord Chaitanya and Lord and Srimati Radharani combine, because Krishna, he accepts the mood and emotions of Srimati Radharani. And what is Srimati Radharani's mood? Her mood is to bring the devotees closer and closer to Krishna. If you read Chaitanya Charitamrita, sometimes people take a book and they go to the very end of the book and they say, what's the conclusion? But actually the very end of the 17 volumes of Chaitanya Charitamrita, as Prabhupada originally presented it, is the Shikshastakam verse. These verses are described in the last chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita. And there we see Lord Chaitanya and his Shikshastakam verses are being explained as the mood of Srimati Radharani. That actually spreading the Sankirtan movement, engaging everyone in the service of the Lord. And we see also Radharani's mood very intimately described. That is described there, that if Krishna, Srimati Radharani is saying, if Krishna, he desires to enjoy the company of another gopi, then I take that gopi by the hand and bring her to Krishna. So, and she describes that if Krishna's happiness is my unhappiness, then actually that is my greatest happiness, because that is Krishna's satisfaction. So we need to see that the mood of service is what Lord Chaitanya is teaching, rather than the mood of the enjoyment. Actually, Krishna, what is his business? Krishna's business is that he is trying to help us rectify our enjoying temperament. Because in this world, we've all come here to be the enjoyers. And actually, we're all Prakriti, Krishna's energy. All the jivas, we're all Krishna's energy. Just like your hand is your energetic feature, yes? It is the expression of your energy. You can pick things up. You can scratch your head. But the hand, what is the hand's business? What is the business of the hand? It has only one business: to do whatever you want it to do. If it has any other business doing what it wants to do, then that's useless. And so similarly, we come here and accept this useless position in this material world of rejecting forgetfulness, being in forgetfulness of our real position, which is to render loving service to Krishna. So revival of our real consciousness, that we're Krishna's eternal servants, is the basic understanding of spiritual life. And that, of course, involves Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna, how does Krishna begin his teachings in Bhagavad Gita? What does he start by explaining to Arjuna? How does he start? You're not that body. Because if we don't understand that we're not the body, that we're eternal spirit soul, then the rest of it will never make sense, actually. So Lord Chaitanya, he is teaching us not just that we're not the body, but that we're eternal spirit souls, and these eternal spirit souls, we're all eternal servants of Krishna, and how we can become re-engaged in our own very intimate relationship with Krishna. Krishna has a very sweet, intimate relationship with every single living being. He hasn't forgotten, which is why he provides the facility for us to enjoy and suffer in this playground of the material world. But he also gives the facility so that when the time is right and we're ready to take advantage of that real understanding, we can return home and come back to Krishna. So this is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's program. And simultaneously, to perform wonderful pastimes to attract our hearts and minds, and simultaneously to experience the topmost ecstasy of love for Krishna. What is that? Vipralamba Seva. Just like we see, who here has read Krishna book? Okay, all right. So you know in the Krishna book, there is the performance of Krishna's Rasa Leela. And why does Krishna perform this Rasa Leela? He wants to demonstrate the topmost loving pastimes in the material world, where you can dance with Krishna, you can sing with Krishna, you can embrace Krishna, you can kiss Krishna, you can enjoy the sweetest pastimes. But during that pastime of Rasa Leela, what happens is that something really extraordinary happens, is that Krishna, he leaves the association of the gopis because they become sometimes a little proud of their situation. And so Krishna, he doesn't go away, but he disappears. He changes the relationship. And we can experience this also when we become a little proud of our knowledge or expertise or whatever, our situation, our roles, or even our service. But actually, why? Because of this simple principle that absence makes the heart grow fonder. So that intensity of the gopis' love for Krishna is enhanced and developed and increased more and more by that severe yearning, those feelings of separation from Krishna. So actually Lord Chaitanya, he's teaching that this is the topmost ecstasy, not that we can simply go and be with Krishna, but actually feel that intensity of separation from Krishna, because that is the topmost ecstasy. And this is what Lord Chaitanya himself is personally coming to experience, because he wants to always experience that transcendental ecstatic love in a mood of separation from Krishna, so enhanced and so intense, actually. Because after all, why do people go to Bollywood movies? Because there's so much emotion and so many things expressed there. But this real emotion of loving service to Krishna is the most intense emotion. It's the most ecstatic. And so Lord Chaitanya, he personally wants to taste this. And he wants to taste Srimati Radharani's love for Krishna. He wants to understand who I am and who is Radharani and what is it about me that attracts her so much. And what is it that she feels by her loving mood and her loving service to me? It's like, anybody here like rasgullas? Yeah? Or gulab jamuns? So you've all tasted these things. But just imagine, if you understand that there's one special rasgulla or gulab jamun, which is 1,000,000 times more delicious and sweet than the one you've ever tasted before, would you be a little interested to taste that?
Yes.
So Krishna, he knows that although he's the supreme enjoyer, and no one can compete with him, but Srimati Radharani, his own internal pleasure potency, is enjoying transcendental pleasure 10 million times more than Krishna by her loving service to Krishna. So Krishna himself, he becomes very eager to taste that. Just like you might want to taste that nice rasgulla. And so Lord Chaitanya, he comes in that mood, in the mood and the emotions, which is why he has a golden form, because he's adopted the mood and emotions and bodily features, the complexion of Srimati Radharani, because he wants to taste the sweetness of Srimati Radharani's love for him. So he has his external reasons, which are to spread love of Krishna to all the living entities who've forgotten their relationship. So it's about compassion also. Lord Chaitanya is revealing his most compassionate, his most munificent nature, which is Radharani's nature, of how to bring everyone back to Krishna, back to their own personal relationship with Krishna. So actually Lord Chaitanya is teaching us that we have to be compassionate to other living beings, not just a few, but to all of them. Because actually we're all in the same boat. We're all here. What was that song by George Harrison, Stuck Inside a Cloud? Here we are in the Mahatattva. But actually we don't belong in this material world. We belong to be back with Krishna. So Lord Chaitanya comes to bring us back home, back to Krishna. So the Lord's incarnations, his plenary portions, his energies, and the primeval Lord himself, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, we're offering obeisances. And this is the very beginning of understanding Lord Chaitanya. So let us read another verse. I offer my respectful obeisances. Actually, we can read this together if anybody would like to read out loud. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Sri Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, who are like the sun and moon. They have risen simultaneously on the horizon of Gauda to dissipate the darkness of ignorance and thus wonderfully bestow benediction upon all. Actually, that is a wonderful benediction, to give people knowledge of their real lives, our real lives. That is Lord Chaitanya's gift. That is the gift of what the spiritual masters are trying to give us. And what is the benefit of that transcendental knowledge? Who knows that verse, Bhagavad Gita 4:9? So important verse. Maybe you know, Janma Karma. And the meaning?
So one who understands the nature of my appearance and activities at once upon leaving this body never takes birth in this material world again.
But he attains to my nature, yes. Krishna says, Evam means certainly, your Vekti in truth knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities, never takes birth again. but he attains to my nature, Arjuna. So a little investment in trying to understand transcendental knowledge can go a long way, all the way back to the spiritual world. So this transcendental knowledge is the greatest gift. And the realization of that knowledge, that I'm Krishna's eternal servant, and by the grace of Krishna's representative, I can be engaged in Krishna's loving service to revive my transcendental relationship with Krishna. And not just me. Why should it be restricted to me? It actually is meant for everyone. Just like if you have the greatest gift, if someone gives you the greatest, most valuable gift in the world, are you going to be a miser and keep it to yourself? No, it's mine. No, actually, it's meant for the benefit of everyone. And as Lord Chaitanya and his associates chanted and danced, it's described that they discovered the storehouse of love of God. And they plundered the contents and distributed it freely everywhere. And the more they chanted and danced, the more the contents increased, more and more and more. So this is Lord Chaitanya's and Lord Nityananda's business, to spread the Sankirtan movement, engage everyone in remembering Krishna by the simple process of hearing and chanting about Krishna, and chanting his holy name. Particularly this nice mantra, which I keep seeing everywhere. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Lord Nityananda, he is Balaram, he's Krishna's first expansion. When Krishna comes, he doesn't come alone. He brings everyone with him. He brings his associates from the spiritual world. He brings his first expansion, Balaram. And in this way he comes, Nitai Padakamala. Actually, by Lord Nityananda's mercy, it's possible to get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. And by the spiritual master's mercy, it's possible to get the mercy of Lord Nityananda. And that's the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, and that's the mercy of Krishna. So this is the process, this is the program. So we have to understand Lord Chaitanya not simply alone, but with all his associates and his expansions who come here to assist him in his pastimes. Because, you know, if you go on holiday alone, it's not really that much fun. But if you have your associates and expansions with you, you can enjoy nice pastimes when you go. So Krishna, why is that our nature? This is our nature because it's a reflection of Krishna's nature. Krishna, he wants to enjoy, and he performs his pastimes in the company of all his devotees, like this. So, on the horizon of Gauda, the sun and the moon, they've arisen together. Lord Chaitanya is like the sun, Lord Nityananda is like the moon. Koti Chandra Sutitala, like that. Thousands and millions of moons to illuminate the darkness of ignorance in this age of quarrel. Because that's what it is. I mean, even you see the age of quarrel and hypocrisy, this much vaunted TV program promoting hypocrisy and cheating, traitors, yes. It's actually glorifying the qualities of this age of Kali. That's simply so much hypocrisy and cheating. Actually, it's a very troublesome age. How people can be happy and peaceful in this age when this is the nature of the relationships, not just personally, but nationally and internationally. So, now let us see text 3. What the Upanishads describe as the impersonal Brahman is but the effulgence of his body. And the Lord, known as the Supersoul, is but his localized plenary portion. Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself, full with 6 opulences. He is the absolute truth, and no other truth is greater than or equal to him. So establishing the basis of our understanding of Lord Chaitanya, this is what the Chaitanya Charitamrita is about. So we commend this book to the house, as they say. This is such an important literature. And if we really want to understand Lord Chaitanya, then we should try to study these books carefully. And then we will get very nice, practical understanding and realization and appreciation of Lord Chaitanya, and eagerness to render loving service, eagerness to perform the Sankirtan Yajna, the means by which in this age everyone can get the topmost benediction and develop not just liberation, but actually love for Krishna, which is the real liberation, being engaged in devotional service. Why is devotional service the topmost liberation? What does liberation mean? People want to join some liberation movement. What is that liberation? What is that?
It means to be free.
Yes, but free from what?
Anxiety. From birth and death.
From birth and death, yeah.
From anxiety. Free from anxiety.
From freedom from anxiety, yes. But particularly, if we understand what Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam are explaining, is that we're here engaged in the shackles of birth and death and service to the material energy, service to illusion, service to forgetfulness of Krishna. So real liberation is freedom from those shackles of illusion and ignorance, and to become engaged in our real business. That is actual freedom. Freedom to engage in who we really are as eternal servants of Krishna, and to be engaged in that service to Krishna. That is real liberation. So you know there are 5 kinds of liberation generally understood, where it's being discussed. The impersonal Brahman is simply the bodily rays of Krishna, the Brahma Jyoti, which is filling up the spiritual sky. And in a corner of that spiritual sky, there's a little cloud. In that cloud, that's the Mahatattva. In that Mahatattva, Lord Mahavishnu resides. You know, people say, oh, I could do that in my sleep with my eyes closed. But actually, Lord Mahavishnu, he's expanding unlimited billions of universes in his sleep with his eyes closed. So who can compete? And inside each universe, he's further expanding as the Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. And he's half filling that enclosed universe. Each one of billions of, literally billions of universes, which are all self-contained with all the necessities of life. And that Garbhodakshaya Vishnu is expanding his perspiration to half fill the universe with the Garbhodak ocean. And he's lying there on the tossing waves, which Lord Brahma finds very fearful, but actually he's enjoying that. He's lying on Seshanaga. And unlike us, where we require the help of a wife to produce a child from the abdomen of the mother, from his own abdomen, Lord Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, he's sprouting a lotus flower, and from there Lord Brahma is born. And Lord Brahma, he's given the task of engineering the universe, all the different planets. Why? As a place for all the living entities to act out their desires and their karma, just like here we all are in this life, acting out the desires of our previous lives, where the influence of the material energy has led us to desire this or that or the other, and we're getting the chance to fulfill this and develop so many more desires and so much more karma, so we have to take another birth again and carry on from where we've left off at the end of this life. But Lord Brahma, he's delegated that task, and he realizes this isn't a very nice task. What I'm being asked to do is create a prison house for the living entities so they can live and be contained within this prison. And here we are. But how did we get this far? Because we've been maintained at every step of the way by Lord Krishna. Otherwise, how could we have all lived if it's all happened by chance? Really? That there's no purpose, there's no intelligence, there's no brain behind it all? Who can think like that, actually? Once we have our eyes a little bit opened, we can make some sense of it. Actually, there's a very wonderful plan behind this whole world. And the living entities are there. And for Lord Brahma, he's creating Prajapatis from his own body who can produce so many offspring and populate the universe on the different planets so they can all fulfill where they left off in their previous lives ad infinitum, or until we meet the devotees. Then we have a chance to get out and go home. So anyway, and then he further expands. There's another special planet in this universe, the Svetadvip planet, where there's a very special ocean, the Milk Ocean. And there, Lord Kshirodaksha Vishnu resides. And the demigods who are given control over the different functions of this universe, they go to see Garbhadaksha Vishnu, as Kshirodaksha Vishnu, whenever they get in trouble and they can't understand how to resolve the problems of this world. And so from Kshirodaksha Vishnu, the different incarnations appear from him. So if we can understand, from Krishna comes Lord Balaram, his first expansion, and the Chatuvyuha, Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Aniruddha. From that Sankarshan comes the second Chatuvyuha. And then from that Sankarshan comes the Mahavishnu, and the Garbhadaksha Vishnu, and the Kshirodaksha Vishnu, and the different incarnations issue forth from him. Expansions of an expansion of an expansion of expansion. But Krishna, when he comes once in a day of Brahma, he comes personally and performs pastimes that none of the other incarnations can perform. And having come to this world, he performs wonderful pastimes, but then he sees that actually it's been a long time since I awarded devotional service, pure love of me. So he decides that the time is right for the incarnation of the age to appear as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And in this way, benedict everyone and flood the whole world with love of Krishna. So actually that is Lord Chaitanya's mission. And if we want to assist Lord Chaitanya in his mission, we should try to assist him in overflooding this entire God-forsaken world with love of Krishna by performance of the Sankirtan Yogya. So he comes, he brings his abode, Sri Navadvip Dham, and that special place, Navadvip, is a place where the most wonderful mercy overflows from Navadvip Dham. There we see the nice place, the temple of the Vedic planetarium, to give people some understanding about what this world actually is, how it's made, what's behind it, who is behind it, what is its purpose, what is its function, where we are. Giving this understanding and flooding the world with love of Krishna. Because Krishna's abode, he has his abode which is very opulent. He has Vrindavan, which is the abode of Madhurya Leela, loving exchange with his devotees. And as well as Vrindavan Dham, he also has his Dwarka Dham, which is the abode of, what is that? Aishvarya Leela, great opulence. Krishna there, he marries 16,108 queens, hundreds of thousands of palaces made of the most opulent materials, illuminated by the most wonderful gems. But Navadvip is a very special mode. Not just Madhurya Leela Vrindavan or Aishvarya Leela Dwarka, but Audarya Leela, overflooding great mercy. This is Navadvip Dham. And so from there, Lord Chaitanya is spreading his glories through the agency of his associates and the devotees to spread and overflood the whole world with love of Krishna. So this is the place of Lord Chaitanya. That is where he very kindly comes and performs his pastimes. There's so much to discuss. I'm sorry, I'm very limited in my ability to explain these things. But we should appreciate Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and not keep him locked up inside. We should take his mercy out everywhere and distribute his mercy. That is actually the business of devotees. That is our actual business. How to spread Krishna consciousness, how to bring love of Krishna to all others. So this is our business as devotees of Lord Chaitanya. We should know who he is, because a good servant doesn't just wait to be told, this is your service, you just do this and do this and do that. He understands the mood and the mission of his master, and understanding that, acts accordingly to fulfill his wishes and assist him in his mission. So this is the business of devotees, to assist Lord Chaitanya in his mission and make him very happy by spreading love of Krishna to everyone. And it's based on the simple chanting of Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. With twice as many Hares as there are Krishnas and Ramas. Interesting. Hare is Srimati Radharani. So we should understand Lord Chaitanya, his mood of Srimati Radharani, a mood of great compassion, and in this way try to help others come to understand Krishna and love Krishna. So we should distribute these literatures to open the eyes of others. Let them hear and chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and make this human form of life successful. So I'll end here. But before we end, if anybody has any questions or comments, I'll be very happy to try to assist. So please do feel free. Yes?
Hare Krishna. Thank you for your class. I really loved it.
Sorry, could you speak up a little, please?
Thank you for your class. I really loved it.
Oh, good.
I'm not sure if I heard this, if I didn't hear it properly, but I think you said Krishna's happiness is my unhappiness. I don't know if I misunderstood that, because I thought Krishna's happiness would be our happiness.
Well, generally, when a lady has a relationship with her paramour, she wants exclusively that relationship. But Krishna, if he desires another gopi, Srimati Radharani is ready to sacrifice her own happiness by bringing another gopi to associate with Krishna. But if that is what makes Krishna happy, then that is her topmost happiness.
Okay.
Is that all right?
So Radharani would still feel happy for him.
Yes, she's feeling distress that Krishna is with another gopi. But actually that is making Krishna happy, so this makes me very happy.
Okay.
Is that all right?
Yeah, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
That is inconceivable. But it's the most blissful. Any other question or comment? Anyone? Yes, please.
Thank you so much for your lovely class. It's perfect just in time before we're going to Mayapur in a few weeks. So, what would you recommend our prayer should be ahead of taking that trip to Mayapur?
you've read Krishna book? You've seen how Akrura had his visit to Vrindavan and what he was doing all the way to Vrindavan. He was simply absorbed in remembering the pastimes of the Lord. And this is actually the most appropriate means by which we can make a proper passage to the Lord's holy Dham. So if you can hear and chant and discuss about the pastimes of Krishna and Lord Chaitanya, this is a very nice way, the proper way actually, to approach the holy Dham. And of course, when you get there, to remain immersed in the Lord's pastimes and chanting and glorification of Krishna. Is that all right? Thank you. Some other question or comment anyone would like to make or ask? Yes, Prabhu.
I just wanted to say thank you so much. Such a wonderful class. Yes, for many devotees that come to the center, maybe it's their first kind of, class or hearing about Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda. So, because many people from an Indian background, the personalities of Nityananda and Mahaprabhu are very strange, I guess. They've never heard of them before, so they're very, very wonderful class.
So that is our duty, just like the duty, the effulgence of the Lord is meant to spread and illuminate everywhere. And this is the business of the devotees, to spread and explain and discuss and illuminate people's lives and consciousness by understanding about Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. What is that nice verse? Bharata bhumi te haila manusya janma jar, janma sartaka kari kara para upakar. It is the duty of all those from the land of India to make their lives perfect and to make others' lives perfect. That is not just upakar, welfare activities, but it is para upakar, it's the topmost welfare activity. And particularly it's entrusted to those who have come from the land of India. That's everyone's job. That's our job description. How to make our lives perfect and make others' lives perfect also. And as we see from Srila Prabhupada's nice example, he didn't restrict that to simply India. He came to the West and spread Krishna consciousness in the Western countries, because that was his Guru Maharaj's order, that it will be good for you and for those who hear you if you spread this teaching of Lord Chaitanya in the Western countries, in the English language. So now we're here, we should know why we've got here, why we've been brought here, because this is our mission to help others, everyone understand. Don't think that only Indians could understand. Actually, in the early days of the Krishna consciousness movement, it was just the hippies. And Jayadvaita Maharaj confided in me one time. He said in the early days, we thought unless someone was a hippie, they wouldn't be able to understand what Krishna consciousness was about. That was his misconception. And similarly, if we think that actually this is just meant for the Indian people, that is also our misconception. It is meant for everyone. Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda came to spread Krishna consciousness and flood the whole world. He actually, in India, he was traveling throughout India, but he approached and illuminated and connected even the Buddhists and the atheists and the Mayavadis and brought them to Krishna consciousness because they were against Krishna. And actually this whole world is against Krishna. But we have to create that revolution where instead of no Krishna, it's yes, Krishna. Actually, how to bring people to appreciate Krishna and understand Krishna and the relationship with Krishna. So this is the duty of everyone from Bharata Bhumi, from the land of India. So now you know why you're here, why Krishna's brought you here. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Okay, should we And then, what should we do? Yes.
I just want to say thank you very much for setting the mood of Mahaprabhu's mood of spreading the mission and just reading his books. What benefits would you say here that people can take from reading the Chaitanya and having it in their hands?
The benefit is you'll become incredibly blissed out. You'll become amazed and enthused and inspired and illuminated. Actually, more and more, all the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle will drop into place, just like that, and everything will become very clear. And we can get the impetus to push forward this Krishna consciousness movement that Lord Chaitanya has brought to the world. So yeah, go for it. Get the nectar.
So we do actually have some copies here, Ronnie. How much are they?
They're £90 if anyone's interested. There's a set of books, the Chaitanya Charitamrita, so if anyone's interested, please approach me afterwards.
It's a very nice way to lead up to Gaur Purnima, Lord Chaitanya's appearance day, by understanding what the appearance of the Lord on Gaur Purnima is actually all about, what he wanted to do. Actually, Prabhupada explains, people have a mission statement. So the Shikshastakam verses, they're Lord Chaitanya's mission statement, what he wanted to do, actually. And that is develop the topmost love for Krishna. So if we have love in our hearts, then how can we be unhappy? And actually awakening that love for Krishna is our actual business and becoming actually happy. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Shri Gauranga Mahaprabhu ki
Jai.
Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki
Jai.
Shri Panchatattva ki
Jai.
Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol.